Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. So what to do now? Shall we start the pretense of seeking and finding? Seeking is a very strange thing. It's very strange because it's like the egoic quest to be rid of the ego. The ego's quest to be rid of the ego is spiritual seeking. Now, what happens upon hearing this is that you might pick up another egoic quest, which is that I have to drop the seeking to find the truth. So neither the picking up nor the dropping, because in either case you have the pretense of that which you are not. And in every pretense all your pretenses are contained. In every pretense. In every story that you have about yourself, you include the story of me. So to arrive at this openness, this emptiness, it is not a product of your attempting or even your dropping. It is a very simple, very, very original which in words actually cannot be conveyed. And yet we make this maybe feeble attempt to try and point to it. Because without even realizing, our attempt to drop the mask is also the mask. So what to tell you? In a way, the master is the most helpless one. Because if the means of communication is language, then what I want to convey, I can't convey through this means. Helpless also because there is no way that anyone can fulfill your expectations. Because it is not something that you will get. And when we expect to get, we expect fulfillment of that desire. And something here doesn't have the inclination to play this false game of giving and getting. So whatever grace has to function, that you come to this naked innocence, naked simplicity. Without trying to gather it up. Nobody can ever tell you how to come to the non-understanding understanding. The words itself seem confusing. Nobody can ever tell you how to drop your agenda, because you make that dropping your agenda part of the agenda. And really nobody can ever tell you what you already are. So this stopping of the denial of your reality, the ceasing of trying to find meaning in the ephemeral. Like children looking for candy. What can be said? What to say? So all of us have done this, isn't it? All of us have gone carrying gold in our backpack, we've gone to the potato fields hunting for gold. Everything that shines, maybe the sunlight was a bit strange that day, so the potatoes looked like gold, and we rushed towards potatoes thinking that they are gold, but we pick them up and it's a potato. But another one comes calling, ah, and we pick that up and it's a potato. Is it? But where is the real gold? Complete denial of that. And everything that we find in this worldly play is only ever going to be a potato. No matter how much we make believe, how much we invest in the idea that something is actually a piece of gold, it is never going to become that. How much we pretend to enjoy it as if it is gold, it's never going to become that. How much we lament the fact that it is not gold will not make it gold. So all our fake joy and fake lamentations will not provide meaning to that which is empty of meaning. But you are sitting on that which is meaningful. In complete neglect. So to expect truth or meaning from an object of perception, whatever that object may be, the old example of mother of pearl and silver. So are you like Arjuna? Are you like Arjuna? What do you actually want? Do you want a special perception? So to come to Vedanta and to expect that in Vedanta you will get the meaning of life is a fallacy. Because in Vedanta, right off, all this perceptual life is written off right away. Everything that you perceive comes and goes. It is Maya. It is a product of ignorance. To take it to be real is avidya, is ignorance. Now, who should be helped by this? So if you take yourself to be an object in this coming and going world, do you feel that that object will get some meaning after the study of Vedanta? Or the study of any sort of true spirituality? If all that comes and goes is not real, who do you want this truth to help? That which comes and goes? That with likes and dislikes, desires and aversions, full of projections about what should be and what could have been. What do you expect will give meaning to that which itself is a coming and going? You must get honest. Who are we expecting to find the truth for? What are we actually valuing? What is of value? Let me ask this question, not like a discourse, like an actual conversation. What do we value? Huh?
Potatoes.
Huh? Which potato? Relationship potato? Uh,
Family.
huh?
Family
Potato? Money potato? Which brand of potato? Oh, huh? All. What do we value? So then, is it value? Do we value something that is true, or do we value the false? Huh? Is it?
Something we believe is true.
We believe to be true. Is it? But then we don't. You see, one belief that could be an antidote to all this belief is the belief which the Vedantins have said, that all that comes and goes is not true, is not real. Do we value that over the rest? Because that is the mega sword. No? That is the sword. And come to Vedanta Satsang every day and keep the sword aside. Let's just ignore that. Let's talk about the rest. What would you like to value, the truth or the false?
Truth.
What would we like to at least value? Start with that. So you like to value the truth. Then what is the right to do that? To follow what masters are telling us. What comes and goes is not real. And if it's not enough that this boy is to that, then remember that this is what Bhagwan told Papaji also. What comes and goes is not real. Now what will you value? Can't value anything because everything comes and goes. But is there, yes, it's true, everything comes and goes. But is there still something which doesn't? So is it that upon hearing that everything comes and goes, we are dropped into this pool of meaningless, oblivion, pointless existence? It may feel like that actually. You see, that is not what Vedanta is about. It may feel like that when we let go of all our attachments, whatever fancy word we may have for them, they are just. So as we start to let go of all these ephemeral attachments, all our experiences, all our good times and bad times, and stories and history and geography, then it may feel like you're being dipped into a pool of meaninglessness or something. But that is not what Vedanta is about. Because there is also a promise of the discovery of reality, you see, of Brahman, of the absolute self. And it is not a fake promise. But till we continue to value that which comes and goes, that which is false, it will only be conceptual, you see. The promise of reality will only be conceptual till we continue to value that which comes and goes. You see. Now, of course, like children, we want to have both. Can't I have a bit of my story and to realize that I'm the absolute? Wouldn't that be so nice? Let me have a little of my personal story and all of the absolute. You see? You can't have it. It's not to say that the apparent play of human existence has to go. But if you value your ego, the ego is what? Is the story of me. If you value your ego, then this seems like it is nice concepts to play with. How can I balance out my spiritual concepts and my worldly concepts? It is not possible because true spirituality is making you empty of your story. And you want to include that in your story. And what is especially upsetting is that you had great expectations about the end of the story. What is the way this should end? If I gave all of you truth serum and ask you this question, what is the way the story you want the story to end?
See the story of the story.
Yeah, really? Not as Maharishi? I'm just prodding. How do you really want this story to end? Not as Nitin Dev Maharishi. So what if the autobiography got just stopped midway right here? The pen drop. That'd be alright. I came to Satsang and then nothing happened. You see? And that was it. Yes? One of those art house movies. Just an abrupt end. Everybody around you saying, what happened? You used to go to Satsang. Did you get what you wanted? I don't know. Would you be okay with that? Or we still want something to play out in this phenomenal game? Whereas the whole starting point was that all this realm of phenomena is a illusion, Maya. Are you not entertained enough yet? what is that movie? The Silk Road or Gladiator. Are you not entertained? No, that's fine. What more entertainment is needed now? What candy have you not tasted yet? If this world was to dissolve right away, every phenomena, every perception, okay or no? Huh?
The thought came, then I won't be anything.
Yeah.
It's quite absurd.
There won't be anything. What are you now? If all that comes and goes is not real, and real means never happened. Appearance means never real, no? Just appearance. Everything that comes and goes is not real. Then what are you now? What will you give meaning to? If I told you that only what you give meaning to shows up in your life, what would you want showing up? Only what you give meaning to shows up in your life. What do you want showing up?
The truth.
But if it shows up, then it's a coming. And that which is coming is part of the illusion, isn't it? If nothing showed up, what remains?
After us, how would you know if nothing came out? But that quest itself is trying to make.
So let's answer the previous question. If only that showed up which you gave value or meaning to, what would you want showing up?
Grace.
Grace. So, in what perception represents grace?
Love of God.
Huh?
Love of God.
love of God represents grace. Uh, is this like a feeling which is the love of God, or
Being.
just to be, just to be? But even being, does it not come and go?
Devotedly being. And to
No,
keep
no,
simmering in
it's
there.
good to look. It's very good to look. Like, I just want to spend the rest of my life in deep devotion. Deep devotion. Or we can have this kind of intention. But even this after 2 days seems like it's a bit it's a bit boring. Let me entertain myself, let me go here, let me watch TV. There is nothing except in stories and movies. Nothing that can hold the attention of consciousness forever. Except in mythology. In spite of whatever image making we want to do, it just doesn't work out that way. Because if it did, then that would be the solution then. Found it. Eh? I can templatize and say, all the templates, they're just temporary template. Because the nature of consciousness is so broad that anything that becomes restrictive, that only this should be, including only devotion should be, it doesn't last. There are many ashrams and places like that, and full of devotion. After a week, they are saying, "Oh, but the food is not good." And, the master didn't even look at me. This kind of stuff. So all that becomes. We want to escape the tyranny of corporate, the corporate rat race, and they want to go live in farms. Then they actually get into a physical rat race because for the first week it's all nice, then the rats start showing up. If there was a solution possible in a world, in the realm of emotion or sensation or perception, then this intuitive insight would be of no value. So how do we? There are various types of stories. Right? Um, there's a victim story. There's a meaningful or meaningless story. There's a spiritual fantasy story. There's the the oppressed and free story. All these varieties of templates and stories are there. But none of these stories have anything to do with you. And maybe they sound like harsh medicine or something like that. But it's just not it. Because the protagonist of that story just doesn't exist. And people are not willing to junk these stories. That which is the most obvious seems to elude you. Or even when it seems to be so clear, it seems to get blurred up again, obscured again. It's just like the ego is stubborn, the truth is also stubborn. Stubborn refusal of the truth to conform to your idea of what it should be. Like the minute you start to get a handle on it, the minute you try to, I got it now. Yeah. Yeah. The truth will never be that small that you will own it, that you will get it. So, no matter how compelling you may feel like my story is, it is only going to be a myth. It is never going to be reality. Every construct of your story, every outcome of your story, every character of your story, especially the main protagonist, is just mythical. The problem you're trying to solve the experiences or lack of them, the doing and not doing, the pride and the guilt, all made up, all ideas.
The interest in a certain type of template This also is not in our control.
Whose control?
Okay.
Not in whose control. Who's not the doer or choice maker? Not in whose control. See? So that template where I am not the doer, I see now that I am not the doer. You see? That is whose. Like whose recognition is this, that I am not the doer, that I am not in control. And we could be meaning two different things there. One could mean that the concept of control is mythical, or it could mean that there is a greater power that has control over me, that is doing all of this. So, the lamentation of the non-existent one saying that I can't do anything about that. Whose lament is that? Who's the puppet in this puppet show? Who's pulling the strings?
Another temple. Just another.
Who's up and who's down?
What you're saying is the truth, which is our essence,
Yes.
and is the background shruti.
Yeah.
That when we go in the world, then we sing a different raga. And
It's a nice metaphor. Need something. And the mind will scream saying, but then what should I do? What should I do? Is it? But what it's really saying is, what should I do to give this life some meaning? But what it's really saying is, how can we make the false true and the true false?
But the basic essence, if you see the mind also, I mean, till the time it becomes probably educated or some kind of with the language or stuff,
Yeah.
then it gets those questions and
Yeah.
all, right?
Yeah.
But in its purest essence, probably it won't
Yeah.
even question
Yeah.
its own
The purest
being or
essence is what is called the no mind. because it's terminology, right? So mind for us means just a bundle of thoughts. Okay? Now before language, there is no bundle of thoughts. So that is called the no mind. Okay? So, but the good news is that irrespective of mind or no mind, you see, consciousness has to take itself to be what its own child, which is the mind, is representing it to be. You see? Just like sometimes I take this analogy of a 5-year-old child who comes and says, "You're from Timbuktu, no? I saw you in Timbuktu." You see? Now because it is your child, it is seemingly innocent, it is sweet. You see, will you take it? Will you take it to be true that you are from Timbuktu? You won't. You see, but and yet, in a way, because this is um, the mind is also in consciousness is beautiful design. You see, it seems to be saying something, and it speaks with so much authority that we take it to be true. You see? So nobody is proposing that the mind is not made up of God. You see? And that way the mind also is not God. Nobody is proposing that. It is God. But it is that aspect of God which is representing, making a representation to God that it is something other than God. Now, because that representation is made, does it make it true? Because it is made with authority, does it make it true? Just because it has been heard for so long and you have invested so much into these ideas, does that make it true? If you invest like 100 million more lives in listening to the mind, will that make it true? You will never be from Timbuktu, no matter how many times you take it to be true. So the limitations and the objectivity in time and space that the mind is proposing to you will never be your reality, even if you take it to be true constantly and you forever continue in this identification. It's still never going to be true.
So it's only imagined basically, right?
It's only imagined, only taken to be real, only a seeming. Many try with all their might, you see, because they feel like the story has come to a beautiful point. I just have to push it a little more and we come to this glorious ending. You see? So let me now invest fully in my mental projections of myself. You see? It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So just because the child is making up stories about you doesn't make it not your child. It is still the child of consciousness. You see? But just because it is the child of consciousness, you see, doesn't automatically give it the truth value, you see, that it is speaking the truth. Everything is child of consciousness. If you try to fit the truth into your linear story, it is just not going to work. And actually, let me say it differently. If there is something in this ephemeral play that you find meaningful, play it. It's fine. Make no difference. Play it as long as you like. Squeeze all the juice out of this fruit. Enjoy it. But just don't say that I only want the truth. Okay. You want to say that, also say. Nothing matters. And hang on to perception for dear life while saying I only want the absolute reality. Play, it's okay. give meaning to every potato you come across till you get fully tired of it. How would you treat potato like gold? Huh? Oh, please don't leave me. Stay with me forever. Everything is walking towards the graveyard. Everything is walking towards the graveyard, but we are just, please stay. Sorry if it sounds a bit strong.
How much will this detachment come by itself, and how much do you have to strive to?
Well, as much as we think we can strive, as much as we think we can strive, we must strive. What is the detachment? It is to recognize, to separate out what we are really valuing.
Then all of this discernment, whatever we are saying, I still find myself as an I who's doing the discerning inside, right? And I just need to clarify this. And at some point it feels that if I just pick this whole thing up and just put it aside, it's fine. Nor do I want to discern it, nor do I want to know it. It just feels, just leave the whole thing. Sometimes that feels more true than trying within this to go on and on.
Of course, yes, like that. But sometimes it feels like we don't have the spiritual muscles to pick the whole thing up and throw it all away. You see? So discernment is like weight training.
Yeah, I've tried to use so
Okay, so throw it away now and tell me what happened. Let's not feel like it and this is better, whatever. Do it. Now, is it waving to you? Say, hello. You through it, but I'm still here. Hello. My offer to you today, special offer for those who have thrown me. Everlasting peace. What will you buy? And that's where discernment helps, because all its offers are in the realm of the changing. I'll give you a good life, forget all this stuff. Forget all this stuff. I'll give you a good life. Maybe
Who's in offering this to?
that is discernment. That is discernment. To ask the question is discernment.
Isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, that is
who I
discernment.
ask, who is this being offered to?
Yeah.
Who will either accept it or
Yeah.
reject it?
That is to discern. Because when this offer came here, like before I met Guruji, I accepted it. Or at least the mind itself came and said, deal. So to be able to discern between the real and unreal is what? It's just deciding what we give value to. Isn't it? Maybe when you go back home, make a quiet list just for yourself in terms of what you actually value. Because to expose the contradiction to yourself itself may be quite helpful. Because on one hand you are studying that everything coming and going is not real, therefore is Maya, is meaningless, is untrue. But if you still feel like there is still some value to something perceivable here, then at least expose that to yourself. And some more integrity emerges from that. Otherwise, it just feels like a tap dance. One day like this, one day like this, like this. Only what you give meaning to shows up in your life. I'm not talking about the secret type stuff. Okay? But without that, there is nothing. You are the projector and the light of the projection. You are not just the projected. You are never the victim of somebody else's projection. So when Bhagavan said the world is just a thought, and everything that appears or seems to appear in it is just a thought, it's a product of us giving it value, giving it meaning. What is here? Huh? Unless you know the meaning of something, tell me what is here. And we may feel that what happens is just a translation. You see? What happens is just a translation in languages to representation in conceptual terms. You see? But it is only what you conceive that you perceive. And those two are not different. You want to know what you are conceiving? It is just what you are perceiving. Is it? Like sometimes it can sound like it is cause and effect, when it is said, no, what you conceive is what you will perceive, but it's actually saying the same thing twice. And without our habit of trying to make meaning out of it, without our notions, nothing has ever happened. So what is here without us, without our trying to make meaning or give something meaning, or for that matter even meaninglessness? See, is also to give meaning. I know the meaning of it all now, it is all meaningless. You see? It is not that. Neither meaning nor meaningless. You don't have to represent life in those terms. How to explain these things? It's like I say, how much chlorine is there in the Ganga? You see? Some are saying, but there's so much chlorine in the Ganga. Others are saying there's no chlorine in the Ganga. But why does the Ganga have to be represented in those chlorine terms? You see? In the same way, life, whether to determine whether it has meaning or meaninglessness. Like some will say it has this meaning. Some will say it has no meaning. You see, like that. But why does life have to be represented in terms of our intellect at all? And if you hear what I'm saying really, then this whole idea of the seeking cannot survive. Life just is. Is the dance of Shiva oppressive or joyful? It depends what you're taking yourself to be. If you're taking yourself to be getting pounded at his feet, then it is oppressive. If you're taking yourself to be the dancer with him, then it is joyful, or the witness of the dance, and it can seem joyful. You see, but neither person is meaningful or meaningless. You see, so Shiva is just dancing. He's neither dancing to oppress nor to give joy. You see? But to represent it in the terms of our intellect is the human condition called suffering. I say often, no? Pain is natural, but suffering is an intellectual exercise. To represent the world is to represent yourself as something that you are not. To represent anything is to represent yourself as something that you are not. You will never grab life this way in any representation, in any mental understanding. So throw everything out except the sword. Except the sword, which chops everything that shows up. But please accept me. I'm here to help you. Really. Easy? Yeah, just like that. It's like, but that's so mean. That's not a. But what about the truth? You see? Enlightened. Ultimate freedom. Huh? Brahma out. What? What? Just. See? I'm not buying this fake stillness anymore. All of you go into this sort of stillness which you call stillness. Just because your eyes are closed, you're not meditating. Don't go into the hypnosis of the mind. Whatever it is offering. Value. What is the mind saying? Value me. Trust me. Real meaning is coming. Then, are you just going to lead a meaningless? But then there's nothing left. But I had glorious plans for you. All its masks and faces, all its pretenses. I'm only trying to help you. Yeah. But this is really the Sadguru's got. The holy face and the helper face and the oppressor face and all these faces just jump. So for some time just keep the sword with you. And then the sword goes on its own. say something. The last conclusion.
Last conclusion.
Or confusion.
How to cut the ego, like with our own sword only, like how can we cut the final ego which is trying to cut other things actually with it?
Yeah.
Like, because even if we are cutting things with the sword, still it's like taking a defensive stand or something, like we are defending something, like so.
So when the notion comes, you're still taking.
Yeah.
It's the final sword.
Yeah, actually, right?
You see, it still presents these notions and says, but this is really true because in the context. All thoughts are just thoughts. You see? It sounds like a very obvious thing to say. Whatever you can think is just a thought. So then they can be like these sort of meta thoughts. Just keep that sword which chops every notion, just be empty. Then it'll have these meta thoughts about the process itself, like the sword and the cutting and what's happening. That's how you cut the ego.
I would love to cut the ego.
Even that.
That's what is preventing us to see things clearly, actually, right?
Okay, just expose whatever you don't feel like you are able to cut. Which
In the
means
sense of
that which still rings
Like I
true
have to-
or has meaning.
Has
Yeah?
meaning,
That which still has meaning or rings true, that concept, that notion which the mind is presenting to you, which you still take to be a true representative of you. Is it?
Yeah, I like wish to be in that state where it's like no pattern taken by the mind actually, there, because we are all following a single set pattern.
Yes.
And I don't know.
So, let's look at this one. Okay? So, I wish to be in that state where I'm not taking any pattern from the mind or something like this. So, the I that is being taken to be true in this case is which one?
The ego.
Is it? Still the false one.
True.
Is it? So in these even like humble and true sounding, even spiritual requests, you see, the representation that we are buying into what we are is still the limited one. You see? So like that, to see that is actually the true soul. You see, that true discernment is to just see that the me that is being represented in these notions is not true. You see, this chuk is just the shortcut version of it. Literally. You see, the shortcut version of it, because we have seen this often enough that in all these presentations from the mind, you see, it is painting a picture of me which is just not real, it's just not true. We play this game, it's a very helpful game. We just allow all thoughts to come and go till we find something that we take to be true. You see? And then it is exposed to everyone. And then I have a simple rule in this game, which is to remind you that it is just a thought. You see? And initially it can hurt because some of these things, like we're really holding on to as if they're the gospel truths. But it's just a thought. Tell me something true. I don't know. Comes close. Comes very close.
there's an idea that there is a need of vigilance.
What will I do without which? But Papaji said, hey, all the big guns will start coming out. No? That which is fighting the words of the Master constantly will start quoting the words of the Master. It will become very scriptural. Just when it's in trouble, all the spiritual knowledge starts. The one that you're trying to help is not you. The one that you're trying to help is not you. The truth never needed any help from anyone. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki
Jai. Sadguru Shri Ananta Ji ki Jai.
Guru Kripa ke Bala.